All right, Social 101. Today we'll be discussing which social platform should I be on with Emma Carpenter, Blue Diamond in the UK, and Monte Schumacher. He's one of our team elites here in the US. Welcome, Emma and Monte.
Hi.
Hello.
All right, first question. What platform do you spend the majority of your time working on in the business? Emma.
At the moment, I'm absolutely loving Instagram. Quite a few of my last few executives have come from Instagram, so I'm loving that one, but obviously Facebook as well. Facebook is the one where we have the most users worldwide, so that is just a standard for me. I feel like that's part of everyday life to share on Facebook because I don't live near my family, so I like sharing lots of photos, so I'm just on there as a standard, but I absolutely love Instagram at the moment.
Awesome. Monte, what about you? Where do you spend most of your time?
I spend most of my time on Facebook. I started on Facebook quite a few years ago, and I think that it's not the only platform I use, but primarily I spend the majority of time on Facebook. And one of the reasons why I do is I built my first network on Facebook, and I really like the idea of all the tools that I have accessible on Facebook. So it's not only just my personal profile, but I have access to create a Facebook group if I want to do training or I want to create a group for product users. I can do a Facebook fan page. I can create an event on Facebook, which is something that's very cool to do if you've got a webinar that you're recording or you're doing an online party, whatever you might be doing. All of that is integrated into Facebook. So I'm a little behind Emma on Instagram, but I'm on Instagram and I love it and I'm adapting it. And I think maybe later, Kathy, we can talk a little bit about context because I try to connect the 2 or 3 networks that I work on together, and that I work on the based on the context of how I'm going to use them.
That's one of the questions. First, let's talk about the difference between Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, and Periscope, maybe kind of to explain to people what the difference is in these different channels. And then let's talk about how we post things, attaching channels to each other. So I don't know which one of you two wants to kind of take, if either of you have notes on the difference between, and especially when it comes to the business, the difference between the platforms when it comes to the business.
I'd love for Emma to take Instagram. She's a pro.
Okay. So for Instagram, it's about sharing photos, and I always think, and I always say that a picture paints 1,000 words, so images are so powerful on Instagram. But not only that, and we can share personal things, we can share the business, we can share before and after pictures of products, we can share anything positive like inspirational quotes. We can also follow people from successful network marketing people on there as well, which I love to do. And it's all about the hashtags as well. So at the bottom of your post, you put a really brief description about your photo, but then you can hashtag different areas and different subjects. So for example, I've just been out building business on the Canary Islands. So I was hashtagging Tenerife, Canary Islands, business opportunity, working mum and things like that. And while I was out there, I've got people direct messaging me from those islands saying, what is it that you're doing? I'd love to find out about your opportunity. And that draws people into our business through the hashtags because it comes up on different people's feeds and people are searching for different things. It also means if you're building business in specific areas or you want to key point like untouched areas of your country or wherever you're traveling to, you can do that through Instagram. We've also got a direct message feature on there as well in the top right hand corner. So if you want to direct message people that you think would be great in our business, if people follow you on there and you think, wow, they've got loads of followers or they look like a really fun person or maybe they've got a beauty or a health background, you can direct message them and ask them if they'd be interested in earning extra income or, you know, whatever you want to message them.
And with hashtags, for someone to find you through a hashtag click, you need to be public, not private, right?
Yeah, so all of my social media is public, but I know that lots of people don't like sharing things to do with their children publicly. So on Facebook, there is an option where it's, say you're going to post a photo of your child and you didn't want it to go out to everybody, you can just literally share that with friends. There's an option just to share with friends rather than public, so you can keep some stuff hidden.
which that's perfect. And I know Instagram has made it really easy just recently to switch to have multiple accounts that you can switch between too, which is nice. So if you did want to have a private account and a public account, you could easily switch between those two accounts. But you need to be public if you're going to find new people in these channels, I'm guessing. Right?
I think it's so important for people to be public. So obviously, if you don't want to share family life and things to do with your children, you need to set up your separate accounts. Also on Instagram, there's a video option as well. So you can share really short videos or video clips. And I've seen some huge success of people sharing, like putting one of our products on and sharing that in a short video clip as well.
Yeah, that's very fun. Monte, I know you're really big on Periscope. Let's talk about Periscope as a channel.
Okay, and what about Facebook? Do you want me to cover that, or you want to do Periscope?
Yeah, I want to talk Facebook. I feel like we've talked. Let's talk Facebook.
Well, let's just I'll talk about the two very briefly. I think Facebook is really fundamentally important for most of our distributors. I mean, you think about it; it is the largest social network in the world. Last time I saw numbers, I think it was 1.5 billion people on Facebook, and over 1 billion people log in at least once a day onto Facebook. Another interesting statistic about Facebook is that for those that do log in, they spend an average of 20 minutes a day on Facebook. So they're there. The best way to describe Facebook, I think, is it's kind of like recess on a schoolyard. It's very noisy. There's lots of things that are going on all the time on Facebook, and people go there. They go there to gossip. They go to get updates. They go to just look around. And, one of the things that I found on Facebook that it's best to make your content lighthearted, make it fun, make it something that's easily consumed, so to speak, on Facebook. Videos are very, very popular, and Facebook pays a lot of attention to videos. Periscope, on the other hand, is really something interesting, and I noticed that a lot of the new skin distributors are starting to implement in their business, and it is one of the several popular live broadcast mobile apps that are out there. Periscope is really truly fantastic from the standpoint that I can simply add an app to my phone. I can create a very brief profile. I can start following people, but I can literally push a button and broadcast to everybody that I'm connected to on Periscope. And it has worked ideal for training tidbits, sharing product information, sharing information that's going on at a live meeting somewhere. There are so many applications for that. I think what's really interesting about Periscope is people tend to pay very close attention to people that are broadcasting on Periscope because it is live. We're always excited about the ability to connect to something that's live. So what happens is if you're following somebody on Periscope and you have the app installed, you'll get a little notification that'll pop up in your phone that Kathy Schultz is now live on Periscope, giving us all the secrets about the digital transformation of Nu Skin. And of course, I'm going to want to stop everything I'm doing, and I'm going to want to listen to Kathy. So it is an ideal tool, especially in direct sales. And I really encourage everybody to upload the app, start following some of the people like I assume Emma and Hazel and some of the UK leaders that are very active on Periscope, and some of the US leaders as well, because you can learn as you follow them on those formats. And then as you get ideas of what they should or should not be doing, then you can give it a shot yourself.
Yeah, I've really liked getting on Periscope a little more just for the conversation and it's like talking to someone face to face often when you do your trainings or such on Periscope, but it's not permanent either. It's got a 24-hour lifespan. And so you can do lots of quick pieces on it, as opposed to if you really are creating a big webinar or a big live streaming video thing, it's much more, it's just a quick and fun way to do that. I love that about Periscope.
And Kathy, just throw on this point, I think one of the reasons why people pay so close attention to something like Periscope or Meerkat is another live broadcast app that people use, is that there is an expiration date to the broadcast of 24 hours. So what happens is there's a sense of urgency that's created. So if you're not going to pay attention, if you're just going to forget about it, you might not get a chance to see what that specific person was talking about. So you've got to tune in. So when you want to create urgency with maybe a product offering that's out there, you want to connect with your team, when they get the notification that they're probably going to tune in within 24 hours.
Yeah. Do either of you use Twitter or Snapchat with the business?
I use Twitter. So Twitter, again, has been really powerful. So I've had a frontline Ruby and a frontline Emerald come through Twitter. So just again, through those hashtags, they're so important, exactly the same. But what I love is that whatever I put out on Instagram, I can link to my Twitter account and it goes straight out onto Twitter anyway. So I don't have to update onto social media platforms. It automatically links over.
Oh, perfect.
With Twitter, obviously, it's really short and snappy, so you've only got a certain amount of characters. So what you put out there needs to be really key and really important. So I like to add a couple of, so if I'm going to do a sentence, one of my words will always be all in capital letters to draw people's eye in, to make sure it's catching people's attention. And you can actually tweet on Twitter up to 20 times a day without being annoying to your social media followers. Whereas if we did 20 Facebook posts a day, we'll be clogging up people's news feeds and probably get deleted quite a lot. So it's another good one where if you want loads of exposure on social media, you can tweet a lot during a day and you're not going to be annoying to anybody.
I like that. And there's some social etiquettes on these channels, right? Like Instagram, you should post about how many times a day?
So Instagram, I think you can probably get away with around 5 to 7. But there are some really successful network marketing professionals on Instagram that actually say 15 times a day, but I found around 5 to 7 is good. Obviously, as I just said, Twitter around 20, and then we found around 3 a day for Facebook.
Perfect. Monte, what about you? What are you finding with your amount of posting in the different channels?
I think your success is always contingent on context, Kathy. And I wanted to maybe emphasize a point that Emma made about what she puts on Twitter. I mean, I'm not going to post some long form post that is better suited to a blog on Twitter and is Instagram as well. There's certain types of content that relate to context that allow you to be more successful and effective in those formats, because people get used psychologically. They have a certain mindset when they go to Periscope or they go to Instagram or they go to Facebook. They're thinking differently how they're going to consume that information. It's kind of like social media in a broad brushstroke or broader context. It's kind of like a college campus or university, that social media is that campus, but different social networks are different types of classes. And so for example, I wouldn't take a calculator and a protractor to a writing class, would I? No, I would take those appropriate tools and I would, for the context of what I was actually doing. So that's a great way to think about this broad social media world, that it's like a university campus and each social network is a different type of college class that I take to make sure that you have the right tools and you're attending that class in the proper way, and so that people consume information in the right way.
Yeah, I love that. How do you guys use the platforms together? I know, Emma, you just talked about how you use Instagram and Twitter combined, and I'm sure you combine your Facebook with that. Can you talk about the power of using the platforms together as opposed to just posting on each one the same thing?
I think it's just, if you're going to be really, really active on social media, it's a timing thing. So it takes a lot more time, obviously, to post individually on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever platform you're going to be on. But if we can link them together, it's one post rather than spending the individual time. It cuts down on time, especially if you want to be really active on social media.
And you'll do something shorter maybe on Twitter to draw someone to look at your Instagram post to have a more emotional feeling, I'm assuming, with your picture or video, and same thing kind of with Facebook, where you can...
Yeah, with Facebook, I'll always put a little bit more content to it, but still not a lot, because I think if we write long essays on Facebook, it's just going to be ignored anyway. So I always like to keep even a Facebook post to really what you would open on, say, an iPhone 6 screen. So if it's any more text than that, I still think it's too much. But obviously then I'll take like a key sentence or a couple of sentences to share on the bottom of my Instagram photo and then on my Twitter, and then I'll share that over to my Twitter.
Perfect. And I know, Monte, you posted something about how people read it more if there's like emojis in your text, right? Didn't you post that?
Yeah, there's been some studies that surely the effectiveness, the engagement, when we talk about engagement, which is people liking something or commenting or sharing is engagement, that you're much more effective if you use emojis. I wanted to point out one more point about something that Emma just said as far as context and how she connects it together. One of the things that I found very effective is I want to make sure that people understand you don't have to have completely different content from platform to platform, but it should relate. So for example, if I have let's say I created a Periscope broadcast and I used an app such as Catch Me, that's spelled with a K, and I recorded it, and I then in turn posted it on Facebook, I might grab a screen capture of one of the frames of that broadcast that I posted on Facebook, and I'll post it on Instagram, and just with some hashtags and some information, hey, I just posted this brand new product video, and should I show a screen on Instagram? Here's how you connect, here's how you find me on Facebook, and watch that video. So you can create, for lack of a better way to describe it, kind of connective tissue between each type of format where you can share the content, but you create it in a way that it's contextual for the way people consume that type of content on that network.
Yeah, I love that. So we were talking about kind of posting platforms together. Did you guys cover everything you wanted to with that, or were there any other thoughts on that piece?
No, I don't think so. Not for me.
The only other question that... Oh, sorry, Monty, what?
No, I was just going to say, no, I think we covered some pretty good ground.
Yeah,
what were you thinking?
I think so too. The only other question that I have on here is how do I add friends on each of these platforms? And I know, Emma, you kind of talked about it a little bit with how you have found people when you talked about like the executives you found from Twitter and Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys want to add additional information on ways to add or find friends on the platform, or if we've kind of done that through. So I'll leave that to you guys if you have additional thoughts on adding friends on the different social platforms.
I would just say that whenever anyone follows you on a social media platform, take time to have a little look at where they're from and what they do. So they might have followed you and not messaged you about the business, but they might be somebody really interesting. So, for example, I had a girl I was going out to Copenhagen to the European head office, and a girl that was a blogger followed me on Instagram, and I clicked on her, and obviously she said she was from Copenhagen, and I just messaged her and I was like, would you be interested in this opportunity that I've got? Sent her a really brief message. She listened into the business opportunity online, and then we met up in Copenhagen. If I hadn't have clicked on her when she followed me to see that she was from Copenhagen, that meeting would never have gone ahead. So take time to look at who's following you on social media as well. So I would just say that as a little tip as well.
I just add to that what Emma said. Totally agree with that. And also, the two things are to be genuine and be who you are and take a risk, because that really is about, Emma took a risk by, thinking, hey, let's just give this a shot. If you don't take action, nothing within the social media platform, nothing's ever going to happen. So as you connect to people, be genuine, show a sincere interest in who they are and what they do after you've looked at their profile, and have conversations that are fun and lighthearted, and compliment them and be genuine.
I love that. Any other kind of final thoughts, Emma, on that?
Yeah, I was just going to add in as well that also social media can make an amazing follow-up system, because if you've had a meeting with somebody or they've seen like an online link or whatever, but now's not the right time, if you don't burn your bridges with people and they're still following you on social media and you're following them, it's a great way to carry on building that relationship though, and they're just constantly seeing what you're doing with the business. And I've had so many people come back to me and say, okay, I've seen you've gone here for business, I've seen you look like you've had loads of fun with your team, you look like you're doing really well, now's the right time for me. But if I'd have just thought, they're not interested, I'm going to delete them off my friends list, or, I'm going to ignore them and not build a relationship with them, that wouldn't have happened. So I'd say carry on building relationships with people, be really respectful if people say no and it's not the right time, and let your social media be kind of like a follow-up system for you as well.
I love that.
And so, yeah, you have to be patient. Social media, you can't build a network overnight. Building a network is like building a relationship, and it takes time. And understand that if you start today, or you engage at a higher level on a social network, that it's going to take you some time. And be patient. Don't wait for overnight results, because those relationships and links are going to be around forever, and you need to take the time to make sure that they're good and strong.
I love that. Any other thoughts that you guys had on kind of this initial how to choose a platform? Is there a platform that you think is easiest for someone to get started if they haven't, or is it more where they're most comfortable?
I think it's what is more comfortable for the person, but also what fits their lifestyle. So I think if, sometimes Instagram is a really quick one just to do on the go, and sometimes that might fit in with somebody's lifestyle rather than sitting and writing a post or thinking about what's catchy to put on Twitter. But again, I think Facebook is amazing, because not only can you be showing the business, be showing personal stuff, be showing the products, but you can also bring in connecting your team on Facebook as well once your team starts growing. So you can have Facebook pages for team trainings and keeping connected with everyone, whereas that's quite difficult to do on any other social media platform. So I still think Facebook is the number one platform for keeping your team connected and for trainings and things like that.
And I'll just add to that again. Just say to give a plug for New Skin's social media training group on Facebook. I think if you want to get a real sense of how much variety there is, and how many different personalities and what people are using and why they're using it, make sure that you request access to New Skin's official social group on Facebook, so you can connect with everybody that's using those platforms.
Thanks, Monte. I'll pay you later.
I can just hear Jensen starting to cry now, so I need to get going.
That's perfect.
Nice to see you, Emma.
Okay.
All right, we'll see you later.
Guys.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks,
Okay.
Kathy and Jeff. Bye-bye, Emma.
Yeah. Bye.